The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in the Our Culture, Our Stories podcast are those of the individual hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policies or positions of the NAACP or any affiliated organizations.
The internet has opened up so many doors. I have so many friends who have built careers simply off of the back of starting to do, online movie reviews on their YouTube page and making their own shows that way. And now they are interviewing the biggest stars there are, getting flown all over the world.
You have to say that with a little more attitude.
I was in the south of France.
There we go. I knew you had it in you. I knew you had it in you. I like it. The 56th Annual NAACP Image Awards understood the assignment.
Absolutely, in every way.
In every way. And thank you for joining us, Angelique Jackson, the senior entertainment writer at Variety. Variety is, 118 years old or something like that?
We are turning 120 later this year. Yes, we are. Here's the thing. COVID time doesn't count. We have no idea. Was it 5 years or 4 years ago? Yeah. But yes, we will be turning 120 towards the end of this year. We look amazing.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Don't look like you're 120.
We're doing our best. Skincare routine is on point at this point.
I would say.
But that's similarly the idea. I can't believe there's been 56 Image Awards.
56.
Ain't nothing to sneeze at.
Ain't nothing to sneeze at. Of course, NAACP is the oldest civil rights organization in America, right there along with Variety, which is many of us would consider like the Bible of the entertainment industry. If it ain't in Variety, it didn't happen, right?
It is actually pretty incredible to look back at the archive and see just the amount of content that we have captured over the years. Our editor-in-chief, Cynthia Littleton, she looked back at our coverage of Martin Luther King Jr. and how we were covering in Variety all of the good works he was doing from the very, very beginning. She went back and found our first mention of him as he was, starting out this career of becoming one of our greatest leaders of all time. So it is really incredible to look at the ways in which Variety has captured entertainment and culture and the intersection of the two over all of that time, and to continue that legacy as we move on and capture things like the Image Awards over the weekend.
Well, amazing. You've also won a couple of Emmys. You got a couple of Emmys under your belt. 3 or 4. Who's counting?
I am very grateful to say that I'm a 3-time Daytime Emmy Award winner. Thank you. That was for my work as a producer at Entertainment Tonight. That's where I started my career. That's where I started, covering the NAACP Image Awards. The idea that I got to work with people like Nichelle Turner, Kevin Frazier, every year that we would go to the Image Awards, because it was just as important to a show like Entertainment Tonight as it is to Variety in terms of chronicling where our culture is every year without fail, because that's the best way to track our progress. And that's what, of course, the NAACP is all about.
So this isn't your first one. You've been going for years now.
Yes.
How did this year's NAACP Image Awards differ, in your opinion, to previous years that you've attended?
Honestly, somehow this year's awards, and maybe it's just the kind of place that we've been in this year, it's been a very tough start to 2025, in particular, obviously, here in Los Angeles with the fires. But there was something so uplifting about this year's awards. It felt like everything was happening in the perfect timing. It felt really also very natural. This year's awards captured, the zeitgeist and all of the biggest names and all the biggest people, but everything about it just felt incredibly organic. And I wouldn't say that that's particularly maybe different than past years, but it felt like a true celebration of us as a culture and just a very uplifting moment. I left there feeling very proud, of course, to be a Black person working in entertainment, but also very hopeful. I feel like we haven't felt hopeful a lot in 2025, and I felt very hopeful after I left that room.
Would you describe the NAACP Image Awards as one of those rare moments in time where an entity or group, whomever, has to rise to the occasion. Do you
Sure.
feel that was that one of those moments Saturday night for you
Yeah.
and the NAACP Image Awards rose to the occasion, a defining moment perhaps when we
Yeah.
look back on this year?
It truly, that's actually probably the best way to describe it. It really rose to the pinnacle of Black excellence this year. It felt like we were really finding a way to just capture and salute. You look at the Wayans family, for example. This is a group of people that just really the scope of the Wayans family is kind of ridiculous in and of itself. To have that many talented people all come from the same bloodline is crazy. But it felt really important to salute them this year. And part of the reason why it felt important to salute them this year is because we are doing it kind of not even on the rise. We're doing it in a way that it's long overdue because their influence goes back decades, but also it's at a moment where I think the wider industry, and by that I mean non-Black people, are really recognizing their importance. And what I say when I say that is because we're about to have Scary Movie come back, for example. So instead of recognizing them next year or in 2026 after that film is hot again and everybody's talking about them, we are remembering that we're not recognizing them because people are talking about them right now. We already know what they did and have done for this culture and for all of culture. So we are making sure that they're getting their flowers in advance,
Yes.
if you will.
Yes.
So that I felt like was really important. Obviously, having Kamala Harris in her first television appearance since leaving office was huge. It would have been, with having Kamala Harris there, it's a bittersweet moment, and you could feel that in the room because obviously it would have been a different tenor to have her there as the president of the United States. But to have her there as the Chairman's Award honoree and not have won that election also just felt like a reminder of we see you and we appreciate you either way. It actually doesn't, not that it doesn't matter that she didn't win, but we want to make sure that you know that we are so appreciative of the way you put yourself on the line in the shortest presidential campaign in history.
105 days or
105
something like that.
days
Yeah.
for us. And so it felt like it was both an awards that were looking back at the past year and really kind of putting a bow on all that's happened and making sure that we're setting everyone up for future success in the future. Like, I want to see the Wayans, get honored at the Oscars and
Sure.
and all of these things moving forward. But I think it felt important that we salute them first.
How would you describe the mood and the energy Saturday night? Yeah. What would you, if you were to describe it to somebody who had never heard of the NAACP Image Awards, meaning somebody living under a rock or a
Sure.
brick somewhere, how would you describe the mood and the energy to them?
It's probably a weird word to just say important, but everything about it felt important. It felt like it was vital to be in that room, both because of the way it uplifted you after, but also just because it was an opportunity to be in community. As I mentioned, we've just overcome and are really not overcome, but are still overcoming these horrific fires. So the fact that the NAACP and BET made a point to include the people of Altadena and make sure that, we are acknowledging the fact that in the backyard of the awards, we're in Pasadena, the neighboring community, so many people lost their homes, and some of them lost their lives. It was beautiful having Morris Chestnut get up there. He's somebody who is an LA local. We kind of knew that was going to happen. It was somebody that from LA was going to be the
Absolutely.
one
Yeah.
to have to speak on it. But to see the people be invited into that room, I'm sure they felt the love. Lettucey really took us to church. Her and Adam Blackstone and co. It was a beautiful moment to just really remember what is important. And then also, when you look at the winners of this year's awards, for example, everyone who won with the 688, that was a film about our importance. It was one of those stories about our kind of hidden history, these 855 black women who turned the tide of World War II. And to see, Kerry Washington get up there and win, all week we saw Ebony Obsidian and all these young actors in that ensemble win, was really important. And then again, speaking about importance, Keke Palmer's speech, Entertainer of the Year. She spoke about the importance of our community very specifically. She had actually been at the ABFF Honors where she was also honored. Keke can be honored everywhere.
She's a superstar.
She truly is
She's
a superstar. And she was very smart to say and explain how, that movie that made her a huge, well, not a huge star, but like our child prodigy, Akilah and the Bee, was a flop. It was a flop at the box office. Until it came out on DVD, and black folks did what black folks do, discovered it, loved it, made it a cult classic, and it really changed how the industry looked at her. That's why I mentioned what I said earlier about the weigh-ins. Because, oftentimes we're looking at how the rest of the industry perceives us. We're in the middle of Oscar season right now. It's all about kind of getting that big Academy Award. But it also very much starts with us. And it's important that it was important to hear her say that the black community is important to her trajectory, because without the support that everyone gave her after Akilah and the Bee, she would not be here, not only, winning Entertainer of the Year, but teaching other people how to do it. She has an amazing book that she put out there, her second book, that really kind of lays that groundwork, I think it's Master of Me. And she really wants young people to know that she is trying to build a table, much in the same way Tyler Perry has done, and Kerry Washington, we'll talk about that later, I'm sure, thanked him for. She wants to make sure that people remember that our culture is important and that it is vital to all of our success.
Little sidebar: how important is it, Angelique, do you think, when we say somebody like Kerry we just mentioned Keke.
Sure.
Superstar. We can put Kerry in that category.
Yes.
Obviously, Tyler Perry. How much of their consciousness do you think adds to us as a community viewing them as superstars?
And by that, you mean like their consciousness of our community?
Yes.
I
Exactly.
think it's huge. I think that's why, Tyler Perry is probably the primary example of it, and he'll say it till he's blue in the face. He's like, I make stories for my audience. I am so sorry if you do not like them, but I'm writing for a very particular audience. And yes, that can be soapy and over the top. 688 is an example of the breadth of his talent, because it's not. One of the craziest moments in that movie where Kerry Washington's character tells a white general, over my dead body, you are going to remove me from this office, seems like one of those Hollywood things. It seems like one of those crazy things. He must have made that up. That was real. She really said that. She was really court-martialed, well, nearly court-martialed, because she was smart and knew all the rules and got out of it, for saying something like that. But the reason I bring up that scene, or the reason why I bring up the kind of the soapiness of his work, is because Tyler Perry has like a particular, like, people think of him in a particular way. So maybe white audiences are not as interested in his work as we are. But he has been known to show us that he can do it all. But he makes a point to specifically write and focus on what our community cares about. So I think that's important. I think Kerry, the same way she shows up both as an actor and as a philanthropist, she was out, she stumped everywhere for Kamala Harris. She, of course, was the host of one of the nights of the DNC. She wears her activism, on her chest, on her lapel, and that's because she knows the position that she has in our community as a voice for us, as a face for us, that she is in rooms that we are, not usually represented in, and she wants to ensure that all of the content that she's putting out this past year, so obviously it was the 688, but she also was an executive producer on this documentary called Daughters, which is a beautiful exploration of, it's about recidivism, but particularly a program where incarcerated men get to have a special dance with their daughters, and it chronicles these families over a few years and what being involved in that program means for these men potentially reoffending, and how it drastically lowers those rates. She also had her show Unprisoned, which also speaks to a similar family dynamic of a father who was previously incarcerated and his daughter who she plays. Reasonable Doubt. I mean, she's always making content that's for us, by us, about us, giving new opportunities to other people of color, and in particular, Black people, Black women. And I do think that that's a big part of why we see them as our superstars.
Yeah. How important is the NAACP Image Awards in the big scheme of things? This is award season, and there are other awards. How important is the NAACP Image Awards, in your opinion, big scheme?
So what I will say is the NAACP Image Awards were important enough that Coleman Domingo left the other award show a little early to make sure he made it. This year...
That's a scoop.
Well, this year
That's
it's
a
actually
scoop.
wild because the Independent Spirit Awards, the NAACP Image Awards, and the SAG Awards were all within the span of 18 hours. It's usually not that crowded. Oftentimes, actually, the NAACP Image Awards will come after the Oscars, usually that week after. But it was an interesting year. But Coleman had to go from the Independent Spirit Awards, where Sing Sing was nominated, and leave a little bit early to get across town to come to the Image Awards and make sure he was there to celebrate with his community, knowing full well he needed to get back in black tie the next day. And that was the case for a lot of people. You know, we have all of these different award shows, and everybody is trying to make time to be there. But I think what is important about the Image Awards is that they are prestigious. Like, people know what it means to be honored by the NAACP because of what that represents. This is, as we were saying earlier, kind of the intersection of culture and entertainment, and most particularly, like, our activism. You know, when people look at what the NAACP is and has done, that's why it's such a big deal to be there. It's slightly different than, like, the BET Awards, for example, where that's also a celebration of our culture and you know, a different version of culture's biggest night. But that's more of a celebration of, like, Black joy, if you will. And NAACP is more of a celebration of, like, Black impact.
Wow, interesting that you put it that way. So, of course, there's a joining of forces there. BET, which carried the NAACP Image Awards live. I think that many people see them going hand in hand.
Absolutely.
Right? BET and the NAACP. Of course, great partners in seeing to it that more eyeballs are on the NAACP Image Awards. So shout out to them.
Yeah.
It feels like one of those years where everything was done right.
Yes.
But it was also necessary this year, right?
Yeah.
That everything be done right. When you think about BET and NAACP and the NAACP Image Awards and the influence, that they have on society, do you think that it is being utilized just how it needs to be currently for this season?
I think we could still, in some crazy way, do more. And the reason why I say that is, so this year we celebrated the 45th anniversary of BET during the Image Awards, receiving the Founders Award, and it was a really great montage of all of the things BET has covered and contributed, and the breadth of all of the different award shows and events that they have. And it was really cool to see, because I feel like even just having Gabrielle Union and Taraji P. Henson up there being the ones to present that award, it was a good assessment of, like, the impact of having this network and what this network means. So Gabrielle being, you know, the star of Being Mary Jane, how important a show like that was for the culture, and what it meant to have a Black lead in a drama like that was a note. Taraji, of course, is an incredible talent and also has hosted their awards, the BET Awards, these past few years. And to me, having the two of them was just kind of a reminder of all the things that BET does. The reason why I say we could do more is I think like the partnership has very much elevated the Image Awards to be at its broadest audience. The show is simulcast, of course, on CBS and all of the different Paramount Global networks. But I think that, it's a reminder that we can do more all year long.
All year long. I knew that's where you were going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
where you were going.
And I know that there are, various, initiatives, and I know that actually because NAACP and BET are partnering to support the Altadena residents all year long, it does make me think that like maybe there is more opportunity to kind of continue this conversation about the importance of the NAACP, the impact of the NAACP, more than just now.
And maybe this show is one of those vehicles.
Yes, that's what we're here for.
Maybe this show is one of those vehicles.
I would say so. We're telling our stories, and
Sure.
they are the premier storyteller. They are that network is the storytellers of our time, both in terms of the original program that they've created, like I mentioned with Gabrielle and Being Mary Jane, but also the idea that they captured all of our reruns. The fact that that's where we could see, the Jamie Foxx show. That's where we could see In Living Color. That's where we could, in the times in which those shows were no longer available on particular Martin, were not available or running more episodes. They've always been focused on keeping us at the center. And I would love to just see even more of that.
Sure. You mentioned in our pre-briefing, you were a sitcom watcher and you watched sitcoms. What are some of those sitcoms, both black
Sure.
and non-black? Because when I was a kid, there was very little black sitcom.
Yeah, we had the Jeffersons,
Yeah,
227.
yeah.
That was pretty much
That was
not
it.
that
Yeah.
totally, but like most.
Yeah. No, exactly. What'd you watch as a kid?
So I watched a lot of things that were no longer on the air. But actually, when I was a kid, those are things like everything from like Happy Days and Laverne and Shirley, I Love Lucy, Mary Tyler Moore Show, to what we were saying, like the Jeffersons, 227.
Okay, let me interject there.
Okay.
Let me interject for a second. Laverne and Shirley. If you were to do a remake of Laverne and Shirley with two black women, who would they be and why?
I mean, you want to say Laverne Cox because her name's already Laverne, so that makes it easy.
Okay.
Which actually could be really fun.
Interesting.
That could be really fun.
Interesting. Currently on Clean Slate. with
Currently
George
on
Wallace.
Clean Slate.
Yeah.
I would love to see. Because like the thing about Laverne and Shirley, it's like they're like two women in their like younger 20s. I mean, I don't know. Insecure kind of gave us a different version of Laverne and Shirley with Issa and Yvonne. Who would I love to be in that?
You're not at a loss for words too often.
I know. Well, it's so
Yeah.
hard because you also don't want to pick somebody and they be like, really? or like, oh, you paired me with
we
her?
like that. No, we love that. We love to see their response.
Who would I really like to see do this?
Or who did you just think who do you think could pull that off?
I mean, I love to just see Regina Hall do everything. So, like, I would love to see her. Why don't we do that? I would be curious to see Laverne Cox and Regina Hall do
Wow.
something. That could be fun.
Wow.
But then, in that case, I think Laverne wouldn't play Laverne. She would play more of the Shirley character because she'd be more of the straight woman, and Regina would be more of the like zanier Laverne. So,
Wow.
that'd be interesting.
So
I don't know. Who would you like to see? Who would you want to be Lenny and Squiggy then?
Oh, Lenny and Squiggy. Lenny, this is gonna really sound perhaps maybe out of character. because most people may not see him in this way. But I would say Aaron Pierre and you're like, no way.
No, I'm like, I will see
yeah.
Aaron Pierre do anything and
okay.
be
You're
totally
with
down
it.
and
Okay.
in. But I feel
I
like
would
if
see
you,
Aaron Pierre and Kelvin Harrison.
I was about to say, if you have Aaron, you have to have Kelvin, and I was going to interject with that. Well, that's
who's a
perfect.
guest on this show as well. And so we're going to tell him
Please.
that we agreed.
We've
that's,
agreed.
Yeah,
I would
Lenny
love
and
to.
Squiggy.
I would love to see them do more comedy. They always have to do things that are very serious and very important. It was amazing seeing them be Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. But let's and actually, I
Think out of the box.
I would love to actually see them be the focus of the show. And so that's the way we turn it on its head. It's these two young guys out there trying to make their way in the world. Their dating exploits. I mean, that's just an excuse to watch them date a bunch of people. But I think that would be super fun. Let's
I
pitch
like it. I like it.
We get executive producer credit though.
We do. We must.
we
I
have
think we
to.
should just do it.
Yeah, we'll start taking some meetings. We're gonna
There you
greenlight
go.
this. I
There you
love
go.
that.
Isn't that a great? I like it.
I love them, and I'm
Yeah.
so happy that Aaron was one of the honorees. He's had such a big year. Yeah. He was nominated for so many things, but Rebel Ridge I do think was a big, breakout moment for him.
Let's talk about other moments of the NAACP Image Awards before we move on.
Sure.
Let's talk about. I'm going to throw out a name
Okay.
or something, and you give me one word.
Oh, all right.
To describe what you felt in that moment. Let's just go ahead and start with Madam Vice President. You give me more than a word if you want, because it's not fair, is it?
No, I think it's fair.
Yeah, is it fair? Okay.
I think the word was moved.
Moved.
I was moved. I was moved emotionally. I was moved to action. It was truly incredible to be in that room with her and to watch everyone give her a huge standing ovation just as she came in during the credits, or not the credits, during the commercial break.
Yeah.
And then again, of course, everybody literally
Do you
just
remember-
couldn't wait to move.
Do you remember how he introduced her? Do you remember what he
Yes.
said?
Yes.
The Queen.
The Queen.
The Queen. Ladies and gentlemen, the Queen is here. Moved. That is so good. I like that. Moved. Wow. I like that. I like that, Angelique. Damon Wayans.
Shocked. I was so surprised. Not that he won, but that he has never won. I was like, what do you mean Damon Wayans has been nominated for 7 Image Awards?
Yeah, how could this be?
But that's what was so great about watching him and the family. Also, Damon Jr. he won the Supporting Actor Prize. Marlon won for Guest Actor for Bel Air. Like, y'all do not understand. This is about, the Wayans are about to retake over the world. They're doing it right now, and we all need to be prepared for these next couple years.
You mentioned him earlier before we got started.
Sure.
George Wallace.
Oh, just iconic. Like I really think it's so important at these awards that we have these reminders of all of the people who have not only paved the way but continuously worked, and it's always just so incredible to get a chance to see them up close and in person. It's really special.
Have you ever heard of that show, Password? And they that's what I knew you were going to say, iconic. So we would have won some money.
Yes.
Had they said, write down what word she's going to use
'Cause you knew.
to describe.
You
I knew
knew.
that's where you were going.
And again,
iconic.
another Keke Palmer. She killing it as the host of that and everything else that she does.
Which I was going to Keke next. A word to describe her. We talked about her a little bit ago, but what word would you use to describe her outside of superstar? Because we already said superstar.
I'm gonna say meme queen.
Meme queen.
Yes, because whether or not
Meme
she
queen.
intended to give us that Natalie Cole, Whitney Houston moment when she called out Cynthia and gave us her favorite thing in the world, which is that wicked high note. It was incredible. She is somebody who knows every cultural reference and touch point and creates her own at the same time. I am just in awe of her always in the ways, because did you, when she pointed her out, did you immediately think of that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't think of Whitney,
Sure.
but I thought somebody else has done this, and who is that person? You know, when I thought of Whitney, just now when you said it.
All right. Well, see, we're
Yeah.
on different algorithms
Yeah.
on our
Yeah.
X feeds because
Yeah.
it came up immediately on my. I
Yeah.
still call it Black Twitter because it's still technically Black Twitter.
Yeah.
Oh
wow.
Yeah. People
Oh, yeah, I
people
didn't
immediately
see
were
it.
like,
Yeah,
"Wait,
yeah.
didn't Natalie Cole and Whitney?" Because I'll share that back and forth
Oh,
all the
that's
time.
the reference.
Yeah.
That's where the reference comes
And again,
from.
I don't know that she intentionally did that
Yeah.
reference.
So you would call her the meme queen.
Yes, I would call her meme queen.
Wow,
Yeah.
from the 56th annual NAACP Image
Because she
Awards,
always
the
is
meme
making a
queen.
new. She's always making a new meme.
Yeah.
Whether it's sorry to that
Wow.
man or any of the others. You can't not laugh when people bring up sorry to that man, because it is. I mean, I wouldn't
Yeah.
even saw him in the street in her face. She wouldn't have known who he was. Poor Dick Cheney.
Deion Cole.
Honestly, just funny. That bit that he did where he couldn't read the teleprompter, that had me laughing so hard, and it was so,
Closer.
it had no business
Bring
being
it
that
closer.
funny. It had no business being that
it
funny.
was hilarious.
It was hilarious, and it was hilarious
hilarious.
in the
Yeah.
room.
Yeah, it
A
was
lot of
hilarious.
things are hilarious
Yeah.
on TV, and not necessarily hilarious in the room, and that was hilarious in the room.
Hilarious. Oh my God, that was hilarious.
I was like, because even the girl
Yeah.
sitting next to me
Yeah.
was like, oh, maybe he needed a rehearsal,
Yeah.
and then she got it, and it was like, oh, that's funny.
Yeah, this is a bit.
Yes, and
Yeah,
and
it was
you know,
hilarious.
it's cool to see somebody who, in his case, he's a 3-time Image Award winner, do something. He's always up there, but getting a chance to have his moment to shine. I thought he did a brilliant job.
Brilliant.
But he was just truly, truly
Yeah,
so funny.
brilliant job. What about the skit? What about between the two ladies, one from Abbott Elementary?
Listen.
And go ahead, you tell us.
Listen, it's
tell
funny
us. You
because
tell
I had
us.
actually been on the carpet with Janelle James from Abbott, and I spoke to Ego on the carpet as well, Ego Nwodum from Saturday Night Live, and I had done pretty much that on the carpet with them when I saw them, because Janelle comes out there suited and booted in that purple Regal. I was like, oh, did you know you were going to match the carpet? You just wanted to bring that royal energy. Same with Ego. I was like, oh, and she was saying all this great stuff about, what it meant to honor the Wayans after they had just done SNL 50.
Mm-hmm.
So similarly, In Living Color also has a different legacy, not 50 years, but hugely impactful. And the last thing I said to her was like, okay, dress. That is how we know that we're with us. And I thought they were just so perfect together.
Perfect.
Should they be our Laverne and Shirley? I wouldn't hate it.
I like that. I like that. That 2 minutes that they were on stage was magical. That 2 minutes that they were on stage together, it's like everybody got it.
Yeah.
Everybody in the room understood it. If you just got a little bit of melanin in your being,
Yeah.
you got that instantly, and it was so relatable.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many men that I spoke to that night that we've heard those conversations, right? Or we're
Yeah, y'all are like,
standing
y'all
there-
even say a full sentence, but you big up to real good. So great job.
Full sentence not necessary. It's not necessary.
We know what you meant.
You're communicating
Yes.
with each other.
Our black girl compliments go so far.
Yeah, I thought that was hilarious.
If a black woman says you look good, that you need to wear that for the rest of the day. It doesn't matter what it was. If
Yeah.
I had somebody stop me on the street one time and be like, she was like, okay, dress, and I strutted around for the rest
You
of
felt
the
that
day.
thing. You felt it.
Yes.
You knew he was like, oh,
I said, oh,
okay.
all right. I just thought I just was
Yeah.
wearing this. Apparently, I was wearing that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I thought that was magical. And maybe they are our Laverne and Shirley.
Yeah, I would love it.
Yeah.
I would love to see them get a chance to do something together. We got to see Janelle earlier this year in one of them days with Kiki and SZA.
SZA.
So we need more of that. We need more black women energy for one another.
One other real quick one.
Sure, please.
Let us see. Open up the show.
I mean,
Let us see.
honestly, I already used moving, but church is, I guess, the best word. She's such a powerful powerhouse voice, and I felt like it just, I don't know, there was something so amazing about, because actually
You could say moving twice.
I can say moving twice, but also
twice.
I think it was unique because this, I believe, is like one of the only times there's ever been a musical performance on the Image Awards. Typically, they're not musical performances, but this year with the extended time and also being able to honor using that time in
Fire
part to
victims.
honor the fire victims, they were able to include a musical performance this year. So I thought that was amazing. And I will say one more. What's your one word for Kerry Washington?
Oh, Kerry Washington. I would say regal.
Okay. Yes.
I would say regal. I feel that Kerry Washington has become, grown into
Yeah.
this regal conscious presence.
Yeah. I think that's perfect, and I think that's actually also what made her going across the stage to thank Tyler Perry so important. And it was mentioned during the commercial break, but like, you got to be a star to be able to just like know you can do that, know that you can pick your Prada dress up and strut across the stage, interrupt somebody else's presentation. But it spoke so much about her character.
Yeah.
It spoke so much about, like you said, who she's become in our business. And it was also just like so freaking real.
Yeah.
Like, she was not about to let that moment pass and not make sure
Yeah.
that Tyler got his flowers. And then she was funny when she realized.
Yeah, it was funny. She just said, bye.
She's like, okay,
all
sorry.
right,
I'm sorry that I
yeah,
ruined
yeah.
everything.
I had a friend of mine who worked on Scandal with her.
Oh, yeah.
And he said she literally is one of the nicest, solid human beings you'll ever meet. She attended his wedding, which was out of the country.
Yeah.
And she went to his wedding. And so shout out to you, Queen Regal Carey.
Yes.
Regal Queen Carey.
The nicest,
Kerry Washington.
the best always. We
Yeah.
love her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other moments that you want to talk about from the NAACP
Ooh.
Image Awards before we talk a little bit about you?
Did you see that I was trying to do
Angelique?
as much as possible to avoid this part of the
but we
conversation?
got to talk about you. You're here.
Okay, I am here. Oh gosh, I mean, it was just a great show. Like, I think
Mm-hmm.
I think we hit it. Like, it was a great and truly wonderful show. I'm so glad. Every time somebody won, I was like, I'm good on that. That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's who deserves.
So there were no moments where you were like, what?
No.
How?
No.
Oh my God. The voters got this wrong. You were okay.
No, I was
You were
thrilled
okay
with all of
this?
it. I mean,
Yeah.
listen, I know that we all love Cynthia. We all love Cynthia Erivo. We are all rooting for her. We're excited to see her, continue to get her flowers. She'll be performing at the Oscars. But, same with Shannon Sharp. Shannon has become, I know Shannon Sharp as the football player and then as the sports commentator. And now he's really taken over and dominated the culture. That was so cool to see. We love Kevin Hart. We love Kendrick Lamar. That whole Entertainer of the Year lineup was stellar in large part because you can recognize all of their excellence in this year in particular, but also as it pertains to their broader excellence in general. But no, like, every time somebody got up there and won, and including some of the people who were not there, Martin Lawrence or Quinta Brunson, who, I mean, she's just literally the booked and busiest, my fellow short girl. She's another fave of mine. Everybody was just a reminder of the excellence, just the embarrassment of riches that we have when it comes to Black excellence.
Embarrassment of riches. Wow. I love that. I love that. Talk a little bit about you and your
Sure.
journey into the entertainment industry. You're born near Savannah, Georgia.
Yes. I grew
Georgia
up,
girl.
I'm a Georgia girl. I am a Navy brat, so I grew up down there near, really right there by the submarine base. My dad did 25 years as a submarine officer.
Thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you, Lieutenant Commander Jackson. I had a really interesting childhood, moving around a lot. I lived in, I think, 7 states before I turned 12 or something like that. And that all really kind of set me up for the job that I do as an entertainment reporter. I got used to having to navigate and go into new rooms and spaces very quickly. And I went to the University of Georgia as I was pre-law. I thought I was going to be,
Attorney Jackson.
Yes, exactly. One of our attorneys at law, and ended up deciding law wasn't for me. My mom encouraged me to try journalism because I'd always been interested in it, never had the time to do it. And I fell in love immediately. First day broadcast news class, and never really looked back ever since. Moved out here straight out of college, interned at Entertainment Tonight and another online outlet, and worked there at ET for the next 7 years before I came over to Variety.
Wow. How, though, were you when you knew
Sure.
that this would be a part of the trajectory of your being? Was it a certain age where it just clicked and you said, I'm going to talk to famous people? I'm going to be friends with famous people.
Okay, well, I mean, but I didn't know that I wanted to be an entertainment journalist until the summer between my junior and senior years of college. The University of Georgia has an amazing program where they take students to the Cannes Film Festival.
Wow.
And I know, right?
Wow.
So as a 20-year-old, I'm in the south of France, and part of our curriculum was learning about
You have to say that with a little more attitude. South
I
of
was
France.
in the south of France.
There we go. I knew you had it in you. I knew you had it in you. You wouldn't disappoint.
But I was there,
Yeah.
and part of our job was learning how to write movie reviews, and the other part was learning about the film market that's there, all the film and packages that are bought and sold at the festival. So I was reading Variety and The Hollywood Reporter every single day. And I'd already been a big watcher of Entertainment Tonight. I'd always read E! News, EW, all of those things, but I never knew that you could do this as a job. And it was reading those magazines that made me think, oh, like there are people that are here where I am writing all of this stuff up. And from there, I started to kind of pivot my perspective to focusing on entertainment, and started working with my professors, and they then had a second program, Georgia. This program was called Grady in LA. It's the Grady College of Journalism, and they decided to bring students.
You know what I was
here.
wondering? I was wondering if that was Grady from Sanford and Son. Just
See,
kidding.
us
just
and our
kidding, just
sitcoms.
kidding.
I
Yeah,
mean,
us and our sitcoms.
us and our
exactly.
sitcoms.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I wasn't really wondering.
I was like, no, unfortunately, it's
Yeah.
it's potentially a lesser Grady. Great school, love it, grateful for it. But they decided to bring students out here to do internships and take a course. So I was able to do that because I don't know about you and a lot of you listening, a lot of people's parents are like, you're going to move to where?
To do what?
To do what? With no job? I don't know about that.
Right.
So I was very, very fortunate to be able to come out here, have secure housing and be able to start pursuing this goal, because it's really hard to get in the door in the entertainment industry, because it's one of those things where it's like, oh, well, I don't know anybody, or I don't know how to start even just reporting on this type of work. And I always tell people, even if you don't live in LA, you can still be an entertainment reporter. There are people all over this country that report on entertainment. And a large part is just doing it and finding your niche in doing it. The internet has opened up so many doors since, I got here in 2012. But
such a long
time ago.
Yeah.
But the landscape has very much changed.
Sure.
I have so many friends who have built careers simply off of the back of starting to do, online movie reviews on their YouTube page and making their own shows that way. And now they are interviewing the biggest stars there are, getting flown all over the world by movie studios to do their interview junkets, to do their press junkets, because they have carved out their specific voice and niche and audience, and they know that people look to them as an expert, and they've become an expert because they've put in their 10,000 hours, and it didn't have to be in a traditional newsroom like I was doing at ET or Variety.
Sure.
They were doing it on their own, and that is so much more of how, especially us, are needing to learn to do things, is like having to be your own producer and create your own show. And that's what I'm also learning to do as well, and trying to figure out, how I want to kind of grow what I'm doing and figure out, who I'm going to be. If I'm going to be Oprah someday, I've got to figure out what that looks like in 2025 and beyond, because it's not even the broadcast model that was around a decade ago.
Well, your future is bright, whatever you decide to do.
Thank you.
Is there anybody that you would love to interview that you've not interviewed?
That is a great question. I will say I've gotten to interview Oprah now a few times, and it's
And you've
basically the
even
peak of my
hosted.
existence.
You've kind of hosted with Oprah,
I
too.
hosted with
You're
Oprah.
best friends now.
I mean, okay.
No, well,
okay.
Gail.
All
There's
right.
Gail,
Listen. Yeah.
But
Funny enough,
besides
Gail
Gail.
was there the very first
Oh,
time I
of course
sat
she
down with
was.
Oprah.
Of course she
I
was.
interviewed her.
Yeah.
She was one of our Power of Women honorees.
Yeah.
And it happened to also be Ava DuVernay's 50th birthday. So everyone was coming in town for that. So Gail absolutely walked in right as we were wrapping up the interview.
Hey, Gail. I'm Oprah's new best friend.
She was like, "No, you're not." Like, please? But no. So it's very hard to beat Oprah Winfrey because she is the most incredible person. But I would say I am really interested in talking to Keke Palmer right now. I feel like this is a great time to really further contextualize her career, where she's going, where she's come from. She's just continuing to have great films that are coming out. She's really in her movie star bag right now. She's about to be on Broadway. I would love to interview her in some sort of like longer format. Who else? There's definitely some like icons. I was very fortunate to speak with like a Whoopi Goldberg. We commemorated her Oscar win a few years ago. I've gotten to sit down with Tyler Perry, and I really relish those opportunities because getting a chance to really, again, uplift those people who've done so much for us is really, really important and special, while also not forgetting those people that are, on their way up, too. So I don't know. Any interview requests? Anybody that you think should be getting more play that we're not covering enough?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say enough. I wouldn't say that you're not covering enough, but I think the people that you mentioned, sitting down with them at length, like long form interviews, would be awesome because we're talking about people who are captivating, and people want to hear what it is they have to say, want to know what it is they're doing, want to know what it is they're eating.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and it's also really beautiful to get to sometimes have them together. We did an amazing project a few years ago where we focused on the Black women in entertainment, or rather the Black women of award season at Variety, and we paired different women. So we had Laverne Cox and Kerry Washington together. We had some, artisans paired together. But our cover subjects were Viola Davis and Stacey Abrams.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it was an incredible conversation because it was two women who are hugely impactful and important, represent slightly different parts of the industry, but you get to talk to Stacey about the fact that she's a writer. She also, writes just, regular old entertainment books because she is invested in that area. So it's those type of things are really cool to get to do as well. So I don't know. I've been blessed, truly, truly blessed to interview so many of my idols and icons, and I'm just really grateful.
Anybody surprise you? Anybody that you've interviewed that they were so amazing to speak with? Just an awesome individual. Perhaps you didn't know that going into the interview.
Sure. I got a chance to speak with Taraji P. Henson. I got a chance to speak with Niecy Nash, and I got a chance to speak with Anjanou Ellis-Taylor. And I bring up these three women because these are three women who we all know and love and are incredible. But when you really get a chance to hear them talk about their process, the things they've been through, and the way that they encourage others to pursue their art, it's really, really incredible to hear, with Taraji, for example, so much of her career is based upon, in some ways, her circumstances. She really was, kind of leaning towards being more of a dramatic actor, but ended up doing a lot of comedy in part because those were the hours that she could do because she had a child. And so it's really interesting when you hear them talk about the who's and whys and hows of how they got these major roles that matter to us. And yeah, it's just really, and also hearing them talk about each other. I got to sit in on a conversation one year between Ingenue and Regina King, and they were talking about working together in Ray and what that experience was actually like, and how one time
We just had another password
yeah,
moment.
did
by
we?
The way.
Did
I
we?
knew
Who'd you
Regina
think?
King was
You
coming
knew
up.
she was coming up.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love her.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think she's.
I knew it was
the
coming
most-
up.
I also that's something that I love. I love getting a chance to talk to people about, the idea that she is becoming one of our premier directors. I love seeing and getting to explore times in which we move into new paths. I think that's really important. I don't know, but the thing with Ingenue and Regina was just interesting because it makes people more real for you in the sense that, like, Ingenue worried that, like, Regina maybe didn't like her that much, but it was really just that Regina was really in the scene that day, and you're just reminded, you're like, oh, like, as they say, stars are just like us. Like, they feel like, oh, that coworker that I really admire, like, maybe doesn't like me. How do I feel about that now? I'm all in my feelings and emotional. And I just really love listening to people tell their stories. It's really incredible, as you literally do here.
Our culture, our stories. 3 Emmy Awards, and you've spoken to just dozens and dozens and dozens of some of our biggest, brightest names in the entertainment industry. You are a superstar.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm grateful, very grateful.
Yeah.
I love what we're doing and what you're doing here with this podcast, and the idea that there are so many different stories that we can tell and feature and bring together and bring to light. This year's awards was just a reminder of how important it is to hear from us and get a chance to know all of us. And I'm so grateful to represent some of my red carpet comrades. There's so many of us out there who are doing it, and it looks so glamorous and really fun, and it is, but it's definitely hard work. But the thing that makes it most worth it is not even, the people we get to talk to are amazing, but also the camaraderie that we have between the journalists is really hugely important. You meet some of your best friends standing on red carpets for 3, 4, 5, 6 hours a day or a week. So definitely, to anybody who's going or interested in doing this job, know that you can always kind of lean on your comrades, and that is the thing that's going to sustain you even more. You never know who's going to hire you. That's how I ended up at Variety. Somebody that I was on carpets with eventually hired me. Just keep doing it. Keep making a path for yourself. As long as you keep the main thing, you'll be great.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Ms. Jackson.
Thank you.
The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in the Our Culture, Our Stories podcast are those of the individual hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policies or positions of the NAACP or any affiliated organizations.